Neil, it's really, really hot here in North Carolina, and it's been hot all week. It'll be hot for the 4th of July, but I'm ready for a break.
Hey, I'm ready. It's been crazy. It's a busy going into Q3. A lot of opportunities for everyone. And I know why, but we can't say, I won't say why, but you can say why. But the topic, our podcast topic today is really interesting. Transforming futures, success stories with strategic wealth strategies. On today's episode, we're going to dive into some of the powerful real life success stories that showcase how strategic wealth strategies has helped clients secure their financial futures. We'll be talking with Alan Porter about how tools like cash value life insurance and annuities have been game changers for so many people. So get ready to hear about the innovative ways these strategies can create financial stability, protect wealth, and even fund long term care. Let's jump into this inspiring case studies. Aaron Allen, can you share a story of a client who used cash value life insurance to create a financial safety net while also building wealth?
Well, case in point, myself, Neil. Now I've got almost my death benefits almost $2 million, which will secure a legacy for my family, but I can use it for long-term care tax free. But I've got a huge pile of money in my cash value. It continues to compound. But when I tell people it's all about education, and I spoke at Harvard something about something like this, and I asked him. I said, "Would you rather have your house paid off?" And there's about 150 people there with CEOs, Fortune 500 companies, other business owners, CPAs, and attorneys. And I asked him. I said, "Would you rather have your house paid off or mortgage to the hill, but have access to a financial entity that you own and control?" And almost everybody says, "I want my house paid off." I said, "Well, that's great, but what happens if you become disabled? There's more houses lost to disability than anything in the world. And you can't pay your taxes. You can't go to the bank and get a loan to pay the taxes. But you have access to a cash value entity such as cash value life insurance. You can borrow from that life insurance policy and save yourself, save your house. And you don't even have to pay the loan back. It just comes off the death benefit. But when I tell people I can change your financial future with different strategies and financial products that I have, but I challenge them to take control of the financial future, to have liquidity, use, and control of your money. Because if you don't have liquidity, use, control of your money, a fortune can be lost overnight, especially in the market. People are not prepared for this now.
They're
Keep
definitely
paying life insurance. I mean, it has many, many benefits.
it's so many benefits that you've told me about so many times, and you're the living proof of why it works. And I mean, I have people that you've introduced me to that are clients of mine. Tom Quigley is one. He uses cash value life insurance all the time and ways that he invests himself. And same thing with Ed Lyon. All these guys know it's such a great vehicle for wealth building.
Absolutely. They're business partners of mine too.
Right. That's why Alan. That's why you got to get connected to Alan Porter, because guess what? Alan's going to connect you to the rich, and trust me, he knows them. All right, next question: can you describe a scenario where a client used annuities to ensure a steady income during retirement?
Oh, I do this all the time, but I remember this one guy. He's a friend of mine, and his sister was moving to North Carolina, and she got divorced from her husband about 5 or 6 years ago, and she's 67 right now. And she's, when I interviewed her, she said, "Alan, I'm going to lose this money here in about a year and a half. It's basically was her primary source of income." And I said, "Well, you got about $400,000 in this stock portfolio, don't you?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "But a 4% distribution rate, which they say is a safe distribution rate to last for 30 years, indexed for inflation by 3%, is not very much money. But I can take that money that in that stock portfolio, and I can give you a 9.35, I think it's 35% distribution rate that's going to last for the rest of your life." She said, "How do you do that?" I said, "It's not how I do it, it's how the product does it." But people don't understand the power of fixed and fixed index annuities when properly structured. you've got to have guaranteed income in retirement just to pay for the necessities of life, such as gas, groceries, your mortgage, and things like that. But now she's got guaranteed income, and not for 30 years. If she lives to 120, she's still going to be paid by life insurance companies. And even if that accumulation value runs out, she's still going to be guaranteed to get that money at that same over 9% distribution rate. That's almost over twice as much than what she would gotten from a stock portfolio.
No, absolutely. And it's unreal, isn't it? And what you could end up getting from this.
Oh yeah.
All right. So next one. How you have worked with clients who use cash value life insurance to fund long-term care needs. You have a great story about this too.
Well, Neil, that's one of the reasons I got into this business. Like I said, I was a Black Hawk instructor pilot, had a real estate mortgage business, very successful until 2008 when the mortgage crisis hit. But I lived in Fayetteville, North Carolina. My son lived in Little Rock, Arkansas. We went down there for Christmas in 2009. Well, he had been disabled for 3 years and still not getting his disability. I hired an attorney and finally got the disability in the summer of 2010. But January 5th changed my entire life, because his wife called me. She's 39 years of age. She said, Alan, I've been diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and they've given me 6 months to live. And of course, we're all devastated. But I was like 99% of people out there that thought life insurance was a death product that you had to die to benefit from it. Well, because the long-term care provisions in her life insurance policy that let her access the death benefit within 1 year of diagnosis of this deadly disease, which was in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, completely tax-free, which I knew nothing about, saved my son from bankruptcy, and it took a huge financial strain off of me. And that's just one of the benefits. But I know many people that I've sold policies to, but the vast majority have not had to use it for long-term care right now because they're healthy. But I have one in particular. He was 5 years older than me, and he contacted Alzheimer's. And if it had not been for his long-term, the death benefit, which is, you can't eliminate long-term care risk, but you can mitigate it, possibly eliminate it, because you're paying for long-term care for pennies on the dollar. The death benefit is so much more than what your cash value is. And that's why I say you pay for pennies on the dollar, but it's tax-free. And things that happen to people they don't understand is the effect of Medicare Part B spend down. Medicare Part B spend down. I don't care if you got $2 million. Let's say, Neil, that you're the one that is sick and you go into long-term care, and your spouse is going to be left. You got $2 million. I think you're going to be left with approximately $137,000, one house, one car, and a small subsistence allowance, because the government's going to take all of those assets to pay for you during long-term care. And sometimes long-term care can last 5, 10, 15 years. It depends. I know people have been in long-term care for over 10 years. And long-term care right now costs between $50,000 to $200,000 a year. It goes up every year. And 70% of all Americans are going to need long-term care at some point in their life. 40% of Americans between the ages of 18 and 64 are on long-term care right now. That's pretty scary.
It's definitely scary. And Alan, when I think about what you're talking about, is it protects you. The difference when you go ahead and you're investing in the stock market, there's nothing to protect you. And you can't go borrow against it. You're gonna have to pay it back, or you're not gonna have it. Well, cash value life insurance, you don't have to pay that back. So you have an opportunity to use it as an emergency fund and also protect you against serious problems that can happen to your health.
Absolutely.
That's huge. That's powerful. Can you share a case where a client combined annuities with other investments to create a diversified retirement strategy?
Well, I do this with every client because I would say 95% of all my clients that come to me have all their money in a 401k or a stock portfolio. And I've always said, we've been inundated by the propaganda of Wall Street and fee-based advisors. The only way to save for your retirement is through a 401k or a qualified plan or a stock portfolio or something like that. Well, people need to understand a 1% fee in a 401k will reduce your income by 1/3. The average fee in a 401k is 2.99%. That's by Lap Times and Forbes magazine. 58% of the people out there don't even think there's a fee on their 401k. And with that 2.99%, people would be left with less than half of their income. And then they get hit with taxes anywhere from 20 to 55%. And the average 401k only lasts 5 to 7 years. But people need to understand you've got to have a diversified portfolio. And because they always tell me, well, I'm diversified in the market. I said, no, you're not diversified if you're in the market. Because when the market goes down, everything goes down unless you have luckily have some certain stocks that don't go down. But, remember the Great Depression. I mean, people lost everything they had. And in cash value life insurance, Neil, the insurance companies have been around for hundreds of years. They're the only financial institution that paid dividends during the Great Depression. And, you get people like Susie Orman and Dave Ramsey. Life insurance is a bad investment. Well, first off, it's not an investment. In fact, it's derogatory to call cash value life insurance or insurance products an investment because they're in an asset class all of their own. There's no other financial product out there that will give you the benefits and the guarantees and the protection of your family that property structure, life insurance policies, fixed indexed annuities will do for your family. And people don't know this because they've not been educated. And that's what I want to do is I want to educate people on the financial strategies the wealthy and the banks have been using for years. It's time for us to do it. And I've got doctors with PhD degrees in accounting and finance. They have no idea what I'm talking about, and sometimes they even teach their classes for them.
It's unbelievable what we figure out, Alan, in so many ways. Here's my question to you: is that all these clients tell me the stories when they come to you? Because that's another part of this is the story when they finally say, Eureka, no one has taught me this. You tell me these stories every week, Alan, off air, sometimes not on the podcast, about people that discover you and then they invest with you. And they're like, I didn't know this was around.
Yeah, they said, my advisor has never told me about this. It's just like, Neil, one of the greatest things about what I do and what the insurance products do, they mitigate or eliminate the risk in retirement that a stock portfolio, bond portfolio, real estate, CDs, money market funds, ETFs only compound. And I've told you about this many times. Sequence returns risk, which nobody knows about, and it will decimate people's retirements. Basically, what happens if you have, I'll give you a perfect example, Neil. We've gone over this before, but let's say you have $1 million in a stock portfolio. And a 4% distribution rate is supposed to be a safe distribution rate to last for 30 years, indexed for inflation. Well, that's down to 2.8% right now. But let's say it's that the 4%, that's $40,000. That's not guaranteed. You'd only need approximately $650,000 in certain fixed indexed annuities to give you the same $40,000 a year guaranteed for the rest of your life with increasing income. And I don't care if that accumulation value runs to zero, you're still going to get paid that money. But the other thing too, Neil, is, like I said, it eliminates the risk, the sequence returns risk. Again, if you have a loss in the market, let's say you took that money out, that $40,000 out that first year, and then the market goes down 10%. Now it's down to $900,000 minus the $40,000 you took out, minus the fees you paid that financial advisor, whether you make money or not. And I don't think that's right. I used to have my Series 63, did assets under management, but I don't like charging people a fee whether they make money or not. That's my own personal opinion. But the thing is, Neil, people are not prepared for this. They don't know about it because their financial advisors don't tell them about it. And if you do that and diversify that money, that's why I say you have to have a diversified account. Stocks, guaranteed income through fixed index annuities, cash value life insurance, and other streams of income. So when the market goes down, you don't have to take your money out of the market because you're going to run out of money. And the reason being, Neil, is because sequence returns risk. If you have a loss in the first 2 to 3 years of a 10 or 20-year period as compared to the last 2 or 3 years of a 10 or 20-year period, you're going to be out of money anywhere from the 5th to the 9th year. Getting back to that $1 million, like I said, you lost 10% plus the 4% distribution plus the fees you pay. And then what happens if 2008 happens again when they lost 38 to 52%?
Right.
They're gone. They're finished. 5 years maybe. But if you have other assets such as cash value life insurance, fixed index annuities, you have another pile of money to give you guaranteed income that you've got to have in retirement. But it's all about distribution of assets. Like I've always said, it's not about rate of return in retirement. It's about distribution of your assets. And people don't understand if you have a 50% loss in the market, it takes 100% gain just to get back to even. And here's the Reader's Digest version. You've got $100,000 in the market. You get 100% gain. Now you're $200,000. Now, the second year, you have a 50% loss. You're back down to $100,000. The third year, you have 100% gain. You're back to $200,000. The fourth year, you have a 50% loss. Now you're back down to $100,000. Your average return is 25%, but your actual return is zero. So when you have these financial planners or anybody tell you about the average return of a stock or bond portfolio or whatever, ask them what the actual return is. There's a huge, huge difference.
Mhm. What innovative strategies have you seen clients use to leverage the benefits of cash value life insurance in their estate planning?
Oh, I mean, cash value life insurance is the greatest wealth transfer vehicle available. I've told you about Joe Robbie Stadium and the Miami Dolphins. He owned all that. He was worth about $400 million at one time. He had no exit plan, no will or trust set up. His family got next to nothing because it was put into probate. And probate, as I've always said, is a lawsuit that's initiated by you that you're going to pay for and you're going to lose. Because what the government does, they come in, they confiscate all the assets and pay the taxes on the estate, and the family's left with next to nothing. Maybe 20% at the best. But like Prince the Entertainer that died a few years ago, he had no plan, and they put it in probate. His beneficiaries maybe get 20-25% of that. But what's really criminal is attorneys get 6 to 12% for litigation fees. People need to be prepared for this. You've got to have a plan. You have to have a plan for everything in life. And if you don't have a plan, you need to make one. If you do have a plan, improve on it each year. Neil, I've told you this before too. I have more people take more time planning their summer vacation than they do their retirement. It's crazy.
Right. It's unreal. And you're like, what's going on here? Why? So the best place people can go is strategicwealthstrategies.com or email you at strategicwealth, the number 0 at gmail.com or call you at 910-551-1046. Right.
Absolutely, Neil. And I don't charge for my consultations. I have a team of specialists that we collaborate with. And what I mean by specialist, Neil, let's say you're a medical doctor. I can treat you for minor illnesses and minor injuries. But if you want your knee operated on, you want an orthopedic surgeon, a specialist. And that's what I have in my team, top tax-specific attorneys and CPAs and other specialists in the fields. And we collaborate to solve people's financial problems. What we do, Neil, is we provide financial strategies to reduce and possibly eliminate both debt and taxes, possibly set people up with a tax-free retirement. Another big thing we do is show people how to become their own bank, where they borrow from themselves. And I've done this for over a decade and a half, Neil. And I borrow from myself and pay myself back, compounding interest for me, and not some financial institution, and eliminating the effective interest costs that I pay on the money that I borrow. And 99% of people don't even know what the effective interest cost is. But one of the other big things we do, we mitigate or eliminate the risk in retirement. And also now we're saving people thousands, if not millions of dollars in companies on their healthcare plans.
All those different things. Go to Strategic Wealth, the number 0, email it, strategicwealth, the number 0 at gmail.com, and go to strategicwealthstrategies.com. Appreciate it, Alan. Thanks again.
You bet. Have a great weekend. Great 4th of July.
All right. That was the